Well, welcome back to our Women in Blockchain Initiative Leader Spotlights. And today we have Dr. Cindy Vestergaard, and she is going to share her experience and journey with us. So, welcome today, Cindy.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So, tell us a little bit more about the position you're currently in and maybe something you're passionate outside of work as a person. What do you love to do?
Well, my current position is I am the director of the Blockchain and Practice Program at the Stimson Center in Washington, D.C. I actually have two hats. I run two programs, the Blockchain and Practice Program, as well as the Nuclear Safeguards Program. Well, during COVID times, man, what do you like to do outside of the house? So just getting out of the house, I would say these days is a pleasure. I moved, here's maybe more of a fun fact. I moved from DC in August from a one-bedroom apartment to a farmhouse in Warrenton, Virginia, which is on a horse farm. That is giving me a lot of joy right now, I can say, a lot of tranquility, which is nice and needed.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think that's the story for many during these times is that reconnection almost with the outdoors and
Yes.
a different pace of life. So that's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. So we want to hear more about, we know you have a background in extensive like international relations and political science and research. And how did you get interested in blockchain? What led to that path?
I attended a pop tech conference. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's kind of, tech and pop culture in many respects. It's been around for a couple of decades. So I went to that in, oh my goodness, what was that, 2017? And everyone was talking about Bitcoin when I'd heard about Bitcoin and blockchain, and I hadn't heard so much about the underlying technology. And then there was a blockchain breakfast. So I attended that, learned something, and I thought, this sounds like a technology that actually might fit quite nicely with nuclear safeguards and for some of the, creating greater efficiencies potentially. So that led me down a road to, well, first let's take a course on what is blockchain. And everything that was available at that time was really either for programmers or for financiers. And as you mentioned, I'm in the international relations stream, so I needed something more on the blockchain for dummies side of things. And I ended up finding a course, an online course called Tech Change, which is also in DC. And that was for blockchain for international development. And that really helped to guide, give that first real dose of an introduction to a variety of different use cases, everything from the World Bank to different types of what was happening in different parts of the world for aid as well. And so that's how it started. That's the genesis.
Wow. Yeah, that field of looking at those emerging economies and the development that's happening with the role of blockchain, that's a little bit of my background as well. And so yeah, I know that that's a rabbit hole that is just fascinating to go down and really attractive to learning more and helping build your blockchain education because it is so interesting. So thanks for sharing that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role as Director of Blockchain in Practice at the Stimson Center?
Sure. So I direct all things related to blockchain. With the program, look specifically at blockchain for international security in relation to looking at the feasibility, desirability, applicability of DLT. Distributed ledger technology is really, of course, what we're looking at for nuclear safeguards, for nuclear security. Chemical security, the trade of dual-use chemicals, export controls. So really, this space is everything under international security, and there are international treaties that govern how these interactions and reporting is required. So this is where DLT works really well in highly governed systems. So this is where that comes into play. So what does Director of a Blockchain and Practice Program mean? A lot of fundraising. Socializing. We spend a lot of time socializing, awareness raising about what the technology is. And no, we're not building an atomic coin. We spend a lot of time divorcing cryptocurrencies from blockchain, from DLT, and of course that's a big part of the work, as well as doing the work. So actually researching and bringing together different types of stakeholders and different partners to be able to develop demonstrations for us to be able to showcase what DLT can and can't do in different cases. And so, yeah, lacing new trails along that. And then, of course, there's also the administrative work. I mean, there is still the day-to-day that every boss does, right? And but we have a lot of fun with what we do since we are really lacing new trails.
That's incredible. Can you tell us and expand a little bit more on you mentioned, you're trying to divorce this idea of cryptocurrency and tokens and blockchain. And from what I've read in some of your articles that or videos that you have on the internet, you explain it's like an information exchange, and you have a strong focus on keeping those things secure. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges in that keeping that information that's so critical to keep in a secure environment? How has that been either a challenge with blockchain or a little bit more on your experience there?
Not so much a challenge with blockchain as it is just with the sectors that we work in. So the nuclear field is incredibly conservative, and rightly so. Nuclear technology is a disruptive technology. If anything goes wrong there, whether from a safety perspective or a nuclear weapon is launched, obviously there is major disruption to the industry, to energy, to human life. So because of that, all the international rules, regulations, treaties that have been built up are there to make sure that that technology does not get disrupted. So within that, policymakers are very conservative. They don't want to do anything that could shift or move things in a way without fully understanding what the implications of that may be. So our work with the International Atomic Energy Agency, for example, when we our dialogue with them and its states parties to the NPT, there are a number of states that still will only provide paper to their declarations. A lot of states don't trust digitization, or it can be hacked. And so, can this technology actually provide confidence enough for states parties to different treaties to actually then engage and provide their declarations and share data over internet? Now, of course, though, there's also legal barriers. So this is one of the other main challenges. So a lot of countries are not allowed to ping, if we will, sensitive information across borders or outside of their own. So how, again, can this technology in any way provide confidence that actually you still can do that and keep your information secure? DLT provides, or at least permission systems. We can show how confidentiality can be aligned, or different permissions and access controls can be aligned with confidentiality rules. So I think there's actually a lot of opportunities that DLT presents us when we're talking with this community. At the same time, the biggest challenge is really how long it takes for new technologies to be adopted internationally and nationally within this sector. And industry many times will be the ones that are leading the way, because they want to be able to keep pace with technology and, of course, create greater efficiencies wherever they can.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with every single one of those challenges that can be found in many industries, but is definitely relevant in what you're working on. So coming off of the topic of challenges, I want to hear about your wins. What are some big milestones that you've had in your work with DLTs and blockchain governance?
Well, Slavka is our flagship, really. Slavka is, it sounds like a Nordic vodka. It's not. It is the world's first DLT prototype for safeguards information management developed for a national nuclear regulator. So we partnered with STUK, which is Finland's nuclear regulator, and the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, to develop Slavka. And Slavka is based on Finland's system of safeguards reporting. And of course, its relationship also it has with Euratom, the regional regulator, and then the IAEA, which is the international regulator. But it is fictional. So it's fictional, but based on this, on the Finnish system, based on a national system. So if, for example, we call the Finnish regulator in Slavka FinReg, and the World Reg, or the IAEA World Reg. So, but it is based on that. So that prototype, I'm incredibly proud of the work that we did there and that collaboration to be able to demonstrate a number of different functionalities of DLT, that it can handle safeguards transactions, for one, how it can be aligned with confidentiality rules, which again, as I mentioned, are incredibly important in the nuclear space. And for safeguards, there are very strict confidentiality rules that are in place internationally, regionally, and nationally. And also we put it on Hyperledger Fabric and how we engage with that. So also testing out that aspect, and then the transparency side of things and what this could mean, not just in terms of having greater efficiencies within a nation in terms of its reporting, but also what it means to have an authoritative ledger at the national, regional, international level that could be shared, and then what this means for the inspection effort, and also creating greater confidence in the data that is there, that is on the platform.
That was I think, an excellent way to also communicate the vision, the future of what that blockchains and DLTs could accomplish in this space. So thank you for sharing that. One of my last questions here, I want to know who or what inspires you. This could be, a business mentor or a family member or friend, or maybe someone you've never met, but you admire their work. Who or what inspires you and why?
I would actually say learning in general is what inspires me. Just learning more information, doesn't matter from whom or from what means or tools that come into play. Like I said, with PopTech, it was being in the moment and hearing about something and the ears perking up and saying, okay, well, let's look into that a little bit more. And then meeting people who are knowledgeable in the area and talking about it, and being able to also explain it. People who can teach and translate technology into different ways so that we, the lay people, as I said, blockchain for dummies, can handle it and take it in. Excuse me. So for me, life is that inspiration in that constant learning along the way, and being able to take you into different pathways, that there's never an end point. It is a constant, journey. It's that bad joke, with my luggage, there's an end point. With life, it better get there. With life, it's a journey. So that I think is one of my biggest inspirations. And who taught me that? I don't know. It's probably my mom. There's usually the matriarch in the room that helps you along with, okay, make sure your eyes are always open to everything out there. For me, it's really, learning is what inspires.
That's so wise. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Cindy. It was such a pleasure to have you. And I know our students will be so inspired to hear your story and your journey with DLTs and blockchain. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.